This video is going to be a little bit different. I'm a 37-year-old black man, and I'm afraid of what is coming next. It sounds weird to say that because if you can see any of the 700 plus videos that I've posted on this channel, then you would know that I am a very positive minded person. And it's almost getting to the point where I cannot ignore some of the things that I'm getting ready to say in this video. Um, I pray that in some sense of what I'm going to say that I'm wrong. I pray that I'm wrong about what I'm seeing. I pray that I'm wrong about what I'm hearing. And that's hard to say as someone who has based the majority of their life on trying to be right, on trying to be perfect, on trying to perform, trying to keep up with social norms, trying to be something and someone. One of the things that I'm most concerned about is the state of what is going to happen in the United States. I think a great fear that I have that most people would probably consider an irrational fear is that there needs to be some type of correction that is coming in the form of what we would call judgment here in the United States. There are things that have taken place on American soil, things that have happened in our borders that I believe that God can no longer ignore. And before I go too spiritual and before I go too deep with some of these things, I want to keep this video very practical because I don't know who's going to see it. I don't know what that looks like. I want to start by giving an analogy. Um, Growing up as a kid, I was one of those kids who kind of got picked on because I was a little bit different. I thought a little bit different. I had these big gaps in my teeth. Again, I was a know-it-all. I was very smart, and so I got picked on a lot. And so, as a kid, one of the things that I learned how to do was I learned how to try to be funny. I learned how to try to tell jokes. I learned how to get the spotlight off of me. And probably when I was in high school, I slowly started to notice that the same things that I made fun of others about were some of the same things that ended up happening to me. And I would track this not just in my own life, but I would track this in other people's lives as well. It would almost like the joke that they would make about others would end up landing on themselves. And there are certain jokes, there are certain things that are happening in our borders that I don't think are funny. And I think the insensitivity that some people have towards others is getting ready to land in their own laps. Um, these past 30 plus days that the United States government has been shut down, one of the biggest conversations that people are having is that there's over 40 plus million people who are struggling with some type of food insecurity. Um, and I guess that's just a fancy way of saying that they have trouble paying for their groceries, that they have trouble paying for food, that they have trouble having enough to eat. And both political parties here in the United States have held this particular issue hostage in the government, so much so that it's almost becoming a laughing stock on social media. Every time you open up social media or you open up the internet, you will see videos talking about the SNAP benefits. You'll talking about programs like EBT and Medicare, and some of these programs that go to help fund people who are in like less fortunate situations. And most people are chiming in that essentially the people who are struggling to provide their basic needs, provide basic food and necessities for their family, how somehow that's become a very divisive issue in our country, and how this one particular thing has become overly weaponized. And as a person who leans into spiritual things, as a person who believes that they have a responsibility to share insights that are coming from above, that are coming from a place of spirituality, a place of holiness. Every time I open my Bible, every time I open the book where we get our reference and frame for truth, every time I see it, I see famine, I see plagues, I see desolation, and all of these negative consequences that come from us as a country or as a nation rebelling against the godly principles that made up this country. So I'm very concerned. Um, I think, believe, see, sense, feel that we're getting ready to approach a period in time where the roles are going to be reversed for many people, where if you come from struggle, if you've come from survival, if you come from, you know, historically being at the bottom, there are skills that you learn to survive, you learn to move forward, you learn to keep your head down, you learn to keep going, that people in other situations, other backgrounds, never in their life had to go through, or they never ever had to experience. And I think that we're getting ready to approach a time where the tables are turning, things are being reversed, where the same people who are shouting and bad mouthing other people for their socioeconomic status are getting ready to see all their savings, um, their 401ks, everything that they put their trust in outside of God. They're getting ready to see those things crumble. They're getting ready to see those things fall in value. They're getting ready to see those things deteriorate, those things fall away, those things be taken away from them. And in some ways, it seems like it's vindication. In some ways, it feels like the little guy is going to know that there's other people who are going to experience and know what they go through on a daily basis. Um, but I think these issues that are happening here, um, if we all don't come together um, to be kinder to each other, to be more understanding of other people, their backgrounds, that God is going to allow us all to taste um, bitterness, that we all are going to see periods where there's famine and there's plague that 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 turns our nation, what we know, upside down. And I think that every person who is coming on social media to give you positive confirmation of certain things, give you positive hope, giving you a positive outlook on life, has a moral obligation to tell you the whole entire picture. That we have a moral responsibility to let you know that times may get worse before they get better. And one of the things that I see myself doing from this moment forward is being able to help people navigate through these transitions and navigate through these times, because I've been there myself. I know what it's like growing up on welfare. I know what it's like not having enough to eat at night. I know what it's like not having security. And that's not something that you want to see other people experience. It's not something that you want to see other people go through. It's not something that you want yourself to ever experience again. It's almost like our government and the world has continued to kick this can down the road. Our our U.S. economy is over $38 trillion in debt, and just the interest payments on that debt alone, at some point, it seems like the entire system is going to collapse. That we're going to be paying more in interest payments than what the country brings in revenue. And that's a losing proposition. Every country in the world that has relied upon the United States dollar, for the most part, is seemingly looking for an evacuation plan. They're looking to get out of the dollar. And what that means for us normal people, us regular, average, normal people, is that when you go to the stores, that dollar that you worked so hard for is going to buy you less goods. That dollar that you worked so hard and you slaved for eventually is going to mean nothing. It's going to be worthless. Every day that our government continues to print money, every day that our government continues to try to solve this problem by unconsciously creating more of the problem, you are losing value. And it's one of those weird things where it's like, I saw a video that was talking about companies like Walmart. It's interesting that there are some companies out there that they make billions of dollars in profit every year. After all of their expenses, the things that they have left over, and they hire people who would qualify for programs and like government assistance because they get financial incentives to do that. But at the same time, they don't pay their employees enough to get off of financial assistance. Like the greed, the corruption that just happens in the United States. At some point, it's literally going to hit a wall, and I believe like we're getting ready to hit a period where everything just reverses, where you see God miraculously steps in and he turns things around. He flips the order, flips the script. The people who were in the back of the line are getting moved to the front. The people who are in the front of the line get moved to the back. And so I don't know if you want to call this a manifesto. I don't know if you want to call this a war cry. But I think that we all need to wake up to what is really happening. I think God has given us ample time and given us a warning so that we can prepare. One thing that I would share with you, my singular focus is just like they did in the times of old, just like they did in the times of the Bible, is focusing on creating opportunities where you can create cash flow every single day, where you can have money coming in every single day. So despite what is happening economically, that at least you have some kind of hedge of protection against some of the things that are happening, and begin to start to save, begin to start to store up, begin to start putting things away for when the reset button is hit, that you're in a good position. Those are my fears, those are my concerns. Some of you guys are going to watch this video, you're going to take heed to those warnings, you're going to start devising your own plan. Some of you guys are probably going to think that I'm crazy. Either way, I know that with at least sharing what it is that I'm seeing, that I did my part.